All right, so Segura is asked about his relationship with Brandy, and he starts detailing that and also talks about the child support agreements between him and her. So we also know that he lies at this point when he's asked the last time that he spoke to Brandy. He says it was Thursday, which was the day before the murders, and that she sent him a text on Friday, but he didn't respond. Well, we know that's not true. So we're hearing and starting to see sort of his story unravel here. Dr. John Huber, when you look at this and are listening to this, what do you think? What do you make of him lying to police and his answers in this setting? He kind of, as you said, off camera throws in it is what it is, these phrases that are sort of just like strange.
Very strange and antisocial personality type behaviors. Something we see with somebody who is a sociopath or just doesn't care for other human beings. And these are his loved ones, the people he's involved with, and he's flippant, he's joking about it, and it's almost he's kind of telling the detective there, hey, I'm smarter than you guys, believe my story, you're not going to figure this thing out, and it's at least a bad taste in my mouth.
Do you think that he sounds rehearsed at all?
Rehearsed in that he's got his story down, and he's telling them different things to kind of detract from Wednesday or Thursday, or maybe it was Wednesday again, and he's staying away from Friday altogether. And it's almost like a kind of a juvenile type of response, but at the same time, he's very, very anti-important. It's just not a big deal. You guys shouldn't be talking to me about this.
Right. And when we hear this and we know that he is lying, do you think that this makes him come off as untrustworthy? This is really, what we've seen so far of him is this interview. He is expected to take the stand, but at this point, we obviously haven't seen that yet. So watching this, does he come off as uncredible here?
Oh, definitely. You got some trust issues involved here. He is not being forthcoming. He's acting like he has something to hide now that, of course, hindsight is 2020. But I would be concerned, and rightfully so, I believe the detectives were too, when his stories just, he was giving partial truths. He wasn't actually completely answering things. He was leading one way and then switching back to another. So there was no definite yes or no type response to him. It was all kind of vague. And I think his testimony in the courtroom is gonna shed some more light on this and really tell us what's going on in this guy's mind.
Right. All right, Dr. John, we'll get to more of this in a second, but let's continue to play the next part of the interview where he goes on to talk more about the child support between him and Brandy. All right, so here Segura talks a little bit about this child support situation. He says that he said he wanted to give child support, and Brandy never said it. He was the one that brought it up and decided to start giving her some child support, which is interesting because the child support is what the prosecution says is a big motive here. They say that he owed 20 grand or so in child support, and that's a possibility of why he could have killed her. So when we know that now, Dr. John, what do you make of how he's answering the questions about the child support here?
Well, he jumps in and says, I'm the one who filed the paperwork. I have some big problems with that. He wasn't paying his other child support, and why would he go and do this? It just doesn't make sense unless he's setting his defense up. And, unless they have the original court application for the child support, they have no way to identify if he's the one who brought it up or not. Brandy's not here to have that discussion. So, hey, it makes him look in his eyes like he's innocent and he had nothing to gain by having her death. But, and then the whole process, the next step when they started talking about, well, what did you do when you found out that she was pregnant? That just kind of floored me. I wasn't excited. I wasn't upset. It was just, it's cool.
Right. Not the reaction you would expect.
Exactly. Even when people are planning for babies, it's like hey, it's awesome. We've been looking at this, or, we weren't really ready at this point, but man, this is going to be such a great experience. You didn't get anything. It was just, it's cool.
Right.
And scary.
So let me ask you this. We know that the defense is trying to point this at a different person, a different suspect, this drug cartel here. And the prosecution is saying, well, hey, this guy owed 20 grand in child support. That's clearly a motive. When you have that versus this drug cartel defense, which they have they have a pretty decent story that they're building with that. Which one is holding up to you better here?
Just on the surface, the stories, 20 grand. Of course, I've been involved in cases where people were murdered for a lot less than $100. So, but 20 grand versus 100,000, just on the surface, that sounds a lot more likely. The fact that a drug cartel needs to maintain control and they use fear and force and violence to maintain that, taking out everybody in the building when they went after the person they were after. That is part of their MO. And it's a rational process, and it does throw the probable doubt in that whole argument that he may not have actually done it.
Right, and this is a retrial, of course, so we know that the jury the first time around wasn't completely sold. It was him. So we will, of course, see what happens this time. We got to take a break right now. Thank you, Dr. John. When we come back, we'll continue to follow the Henry Segura trial. Stay with us here on Law and Crime.